Okay, well, it's Wednesday when the House is sitting, so that means our MPs are here, and they promised to behave this week. Yvonne Jones is the Liberal MP for Labrador. Stella Ambler is a Conservative MP in Mississauga. Jenny Sims hails from southern BC. What's it? Delta, North Delta?
Newton, North Delta.
She's for the NDP. Welcome to you all.
Thank you, Dan.
We don't really talk polls, but we're talking polls later in the show with Nick Nanos on leadership. But one of the first post-budget polls we've seen came out today on Abacus, and it was kind of interesting. It basically showed that 70% of Canadians that they surveyed feel that the budget does show a preference for higher income earners. But it also says, whether they like, you guys like to admit it or not, that Conservatives are the best economic managers, and that's fortified even more so. So I guess, Jenny, your party and Yvonne's are hard on the Conservative government in terms of them giving away money to the middle or the higher income earners and not the middle class. But it sounds like the voters are buying into their story.
Well, right in the poll, as you said, 70% believe that a disproportionate amount is going to, 70% believe, to the higher income earners. And I can tell you, Don, that when I'm talking to people, both in my riding and when I'm going door to door and at events, the middle class are the people I'm hearing from, the hardworking middle class and those who want to be middle class, are telling us one thing very, very clearly, that they're feeling squeezed from both ends. These are the people who are struggling with childcare payments. Some of them are struggling with full-time employment, and they are struggling with very, very high credit card bills. So we're hearing lots from them and very, very serious concerns of affordability.
But Yvonne, one thing that's missing in all this discussion is a Liberal sort of counter plan to offset the budget. Like, you need a plan, don't you, to say to the voters, this is how we as a government would do these issues. When's that coming out?
Well, hopefully fairly soon. The economic plan that will be put forward by the Liberals is being finalized at this stage right now. We can expect to have the leader make some public statements around it and launch that platform piece within the next few weeks. So Canadians will have an opportunity to really see the contrast of where spending should be, how we differ from where the Conservatives are. What I hear from people that I've talked to across the country is that this is very much a budget that looks after the wealthier population of the country. They're not seeing anything here that really advances the middle class or helps those who are trying to achieve middle class in Canadian society. And, you know, their concerns are really around everyday issues that we face. Our jobs, stability, paying for our homes, educating our children, ensuring our children have proper child care. All of these things are the things that, well, you know, balanced budgets are one part of it, but a lot of families I deal with, balanced budget is not their number one priority. Their number one priority is, how am I going to look after my family? How do I keep my job? And how do I have that security in my life? Then, of course, they want to see the same for their country.
Stella, you've got to fight that perception, though, that this was unduly favorable for the middle upper class.
It's well, I think that's clearly not the case, especially when you look at something like, just as an example, the family tax cut benefits every single family with children. And I think what's important to note, and I think it's the reason why the polls are showing that Canadians like the budget. I wasn't really surprised to read that about that poll, because it's not surprising that Canadians appreciate a government that puts more money back into their pockets. It's a fundamental difference in how we do business and how we manage the economy. So Conservatives believe that it's Canadians, it's their money to manage, and that they can manage it better. It's not that it's government's money and that we can tell you how best, and the more programs the better. That's not how we look at it. We look at it as putting more money back into your pocket.
I should point out only 16% of people in that poll actually knew what was in the budget in any detail. So
Just
I guess
going to say that, Don, and I'm glad you mentioned balancing the budget. You know, it's how was the budget balanced? By taking money from the contingency fund, from EI, when hundreds and thousands of people who need EI are being denied EI because there have been so many barriers placed in the way. So it's, you know, it's easy to do a shell game, and I feel that's what has been done to show a balanced budget.
I got a lot of topics here, so I better move along. The Liberals have a weird preoccupation with attacking the government's advertising policies, saying they're too partisan, it's a waste of money. Why are you fixated on that? On the day after the Auditor General, or the day the Auditor General came down, that's all you talked about. Are you really sure that resonates out there with people?
Anytime that governments want to take taxpayers' hard-earned dollars and go out there and advertise and promote partisan messages, yeah, it's a huge
concern. What's it, 78 million or no, 17 million?
780 million.
Wow.
That is being used to do just that. And many of these ads, I mean, we've all seen them as Canadians. They appear, very rapidly around election times. They're promoted in prime time events in the country, whether it's the hockey playoffs or some other major event that might be going on. So, you know, it's not by accident that the Conservatives are doing this. But the Conservatives don't take out ads to say we're changing the pension program, so you can no longer get pension at 65. You have to wait till you're 67. Yeah. They don't take out ads to say that we're going to cut funds that we've allocated for climate change, or we're going to reduce the amount of money that we're investing in environmental programs.
So we can't have it both ways here.
They don't do ads that speak to that. They do advertising to promote their own message. And I think one very important fact is that
so you either lament the fact
an NHL hockey game is $100,000 in the playoffs.
People watch hockey.
30 student jobs in this country, and this government has cut more student jobs.
You can't say people don't know what's in the budget and then not expect there to be some advertising about what's in the budget, what programs are being offered.
Maybe
there
you
are
should wait
things
till
Canadians
it's actually
should
approved,
know. So, well, you know, have a good feeling about that.
Quickly,
you know, to advertise programs that have already been approved, or to use good communication skills with the constituents and with our residents, there is no problem with that. But when the advertising is so partisan, and I'm looking to my left and to my right, and really close over 900 million during the Liberal era and over 700 million now during the Conservative era. Look,
our money actually went to ads, though.
Taxpayers work very, very hard. Canadians are working very hard. They pay taxes. They don't want their taxes to be used for partisan purposes.
But that's what the NDP
it's not
did
partisan
when
to tell people what
to open
the government is doing.
Quebec. You use the NDP taxpayer parliamentary monies to open NDP offices in Quebec.
Interestingly, I want to get your thoughts on this, Ginny, because there's a report in Huffington Post about Conservative ministers are using their offices to do partisan work. Like round up MPs for cabinet ministers in photo ops and that sort of thing. I guess you could say, aha, we're all doing it.
I'm not going to go there, but what I am going to say, it's very, very obvious that the Conservative government is using the ministers' outreach offices for partisan purposes. And it's I'm sort of saying,
not
why?
obvious.
And let me just give you an example.
Very quickly.
I've heard that these offices are open there for the services of all MPs. I've been an MP for 4 years. I've not had one call from the outreach offices of the ministers to say such and such event is going on, whereas usually we're kept out of those events and Conservatives are parachuted in.
She's right about that.
They're government offices for government business. So, well, I'm sorry, Ginny, that is the way it is.
Do they ever call you and say, come out to an event, Stella, and stand with the minister or whatever?
I'm not a cabinet minister, so
they do that.
Do I know who the people are? Don, I actually worked in one of them for the late, wonderful Jim Flaherty before I was elected when he was the GTA minister. So I know how they run, and I know that they're very careful. They understand that it's taxpayer dollars that pay for those offices.
20 seconds or less.
Political activity does not happen in those offices.
You are telling us today that none of the ministers' regional offices are
That there's
used
no
to
political-
promote any conservative ministers or any work of the Conservative
Okay.
Party. That's what you're telling me.
there
That was
is
a good question.
We have a
She's
conservative
answered.
government.
We are done.
And
I have to cut it off. I'm sorry. The time is up. Appreciate you all coming in. We'll see you next week.